Narcissism in the supply. Why? Slate, in one of your videos, you said that you were at fault too. Why is that? Okay. Narcissism is never truly our fault. However, codependency is. Codependency plays into narcissism, and I'll tell you why. Chances are you have an attachment style that is anxious. So if you have an anxious attachment style and you are a people pleaser, the narcissist is drawn to you. They'll see it in you. They'll spy something in you that says, like, you have maybe not the highest self-esteem, but you're smart. You are talented. You're probably working. You have a bunch of qualities that they like, that they admire, okay? You're going to have something about yourself that you're super not liking, okay? In my past, it was my weight. My weight was the hugest thing for me, which I'm actually working on right now. And I will be on camera soon, but I'm not going to be on camera before my divorce is finalized, because I'm not going to have them come after me in court. So anyways, in my past, I was working 12-hour shifts. I was working at the hospital. So I had weekends off. I had time to spare on the weekends. They were retired from their job, and they were a younger retired person. I, at the time, had just got out of a relationship within 2 years, and I was rebuilding myself. I was going to the gym. I was successful. I was working. I was a good mom. And narcissists, generally, if they are male, want a mom figure as their partner. And I'll explain that in another minute. Now, I know that there are female narcissists too, but this is just from my experience. So I'm going to bet that if it's a female narcissist you're dealing with, chances are they want a father figure in their life. Narcissism is generally from, at least in men, from a mother wound. And what they're wanting in their life is a mother figure. So what they want from you as a partner, as a wife, eventually. And they're going to be very, very into wanting to at least have you in their home. They might not be super into settling down with you in marriage right away, but they're going to want you in their home. And here's why. They want someone that's at their home. They want someone that cooks. They want someone that cleans. They want someone that takes care of all the things, that remembers the birthdays, that has the calendar, that does all the mom things, that bakes cookies, that preps the house for their family to come over. That's what they're looking for. They want someone that's there, like waiting at the door for them when they get home from whatever it is that they're doing. In this particular case, it wasn't when they were getting home from work. It was when they were getting home from helping other people. Another key indicator. A narcissist will go out of their way to help people around you. So like their neighbors, people at church, they will go out of their way to make those people like the number one priority. And then in your relationship, you will slowly start to fade away. So they'll start with a love bombing phase, which is like, you think, oh my gosh, they are amazing. Everyone loves them. They're great to me. They're my soulmate. They're saying the things that I have always wanted to hear. But you'll probably feel it in your belly in the early phases. And what I mean by that is we store our emotions in our belly. So in the beginning, when we were dating, there were a few times where I would call and they wouldn't answer. And again, this is anxious attachment style. So I'm a people pleaser. He didn't answer. Gosh, something must be wrong with me. So I waited and waited and waited. And then they finally call back and they say, oh, well, I was busy doing whatever they were doing. But I would get that feeling in my belly, like, are they cheating on me? Is there someone else they're talking to? And eventually it goes away because they'll gaslight you. So if you say, like, are you talking to someone else? They'll be like, oh my gosh, absolutely not. You're the center of my world. You're this, you're that. I'm preparing for a life for us together, blah, blah, blah. All these things. Okay. So they'll explain all of that away. Your relationship will continue. They'll keep love bombing you in the early phases. They're going to buy you really nice Christmas gifts probably. And they don't have to be like extravagant diamonds or anything like that, but they're going to buy you things that you like. They're going to take you to places you like. They are going to tell you the things you want to hear. And in the beginning phases of this, they're going to ask you certain things, and they're going to be different questions than what most people would ask. So they might ask you maybe like your favorite restaurant or something, but they're going to kind of leave it there. And I'll explain that in another video. But the moral of the story is certain things that they ask you are probably going to have a negative answer. So they're maybe going to ask you like, what is your biggest insecurity? And you're going to tell them. So in my instance, it was like my weight, or like I didn't have a good family background. So they'll use that against you later. This is what narcissists do. This is their whole thing. Okay. So we start with the love bombing. We move into the next phases where the relationship will move really, really fast. They'll want you underneath their roof. That's a huge thing for a narcissist. And again, they're probably not pushing for marriage. They're just wanting you to live with them, because then they have a mom figure around and they have someone to blame everything on. That's what they're really looking for. Okay. So those are a couple of the red flags in the beginning. They're never going to know how you take your coffee. They are never going to know a lot of other things about you. They're going to know the basic things, and they're going to know things that are not going to be in the most positive light about you. Okay? Okay. So those are the beginnings. I forgot where I was going with this. Yeah. Oh yeah, why I was also at fault. Okay. So why was I also at fault? And again, this is just another video that I had. Okay, so narcissism needs supply. The supply is their why. Okay. So it's an anxious attachment style. Your chances are you're a people pleaser. So they'll know things about you. But again, most of the things that they know about you are going to be like little things that are negative so that they can weaponize them against you later. Okay. So they need that supply. So on goes the relationship. You're going to move in with them. And slowly you're going to start to notice that they're going to spend less time with you. They're going to start to prioritize other people above you. And it's going to be in a weird way, because it's going to be like, some neighbor, some church person, some random person needs to know that they're like a hero. Like they are very adamant about shoveling people's driveways, or volunteering in organizations, things like that, things in the community, things that make them look very good. Another thing that narcissists really like to do is, if they're part of a church, they really love to get you involved in the church. And here's why. So in my specific case, the church ended up approaching me and asking me to get involved with the nursery, which was fine. I'm good with kids, and I seem to calm babies down, and that's fine. That's an empath thing too. I feel like a lot of times you'll be the one in the room that can calm the baby down, or babies smile at you, animals flock to you, the things, because you're an empath. That's what you are doing. And they love to weaponize empaths. They love it. They thrive on that stuff. So anyways, they got me involved in church, involved in the nursery. Everything was great. Everything was fine. Except I also worked full time, and then we had other obligations that we had to do, other organizations that we were serving. So during the course of our relationship, there was one point in time where it lasted a couple of weeks in a row, where it was like I would work my 5 days in a row. I was working overtime at the time. We would go to an organization, and we had like a meeting or something like that, or an event. So we would do that. And then on Sunday, which should be like the day of rest, according to churches and God and the things, the Bible. Okay. Sunday should be the day of rest. It was like, oh, no, you're signed up for nursery. So here I am. What he did during that time is he's seeking out new supply. Because this was in the latter portion of our marriage, of our relationship. So he was seeking out new supply. So he was looking at other people around the church. He would use that time to kind of like suss out a new supply, and he would make really good friends around people around the church. And if you are not in a narcissistic relationship and you are not familiar with narcissism, you're like, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with him like volunteering, helping other people, and like being a good member of the church. Oh, no. Narcissism is like a whole other level of things. So what this was I was obligated to things at church. I didn't get a day off. That would stress me out, which in turn makes it seem easier to make me play like I'm crazy. In addition, because I was obligated to that, there would be days where they would decide that they would do other things with other people. So they decided to make a point like, oh, you have to be in the nursery. Okay, well, this day I'm going to go snowmobiling. Well, this day I'm going to spend time with my family. Well, this day I have to do this, but you have to go to the nursery. So they love to do that too. But they need supply. So chances are, if your relationship has gotten bad with a narcissist, they're already looking for a new supply, or they already have a new supply. In my case, it was our insurance agent. So the thing I remember most now is I went to go get a different vehicle, and this was towards the very end of our relationship when I had already made up my mind that I'm leaving and I have to get out of this one way or another because I cannot do this anymore. So at the time, because we were married, he was on a vehicle loan with me. So what I ended up doing was, during his times where he would go on like 2-week long trips with his brother, which again, I think part of it was an alibi, I decided to seek out a new vehicle. I was able to lease a new vehicle and put it just under my name. So I surprised him with it. And this is another thing narcissists hate. So if you ever try to surprise a narcissist with something that you want, it's like World War III. So I'm just warning you ahead of time. If this ever happens to you, they hate this more than anything. So they will turn on you so quick. In my case, I went and got a different vehicle. I let them know about it on Sunday, like, this is the vehicle that I want. And they were like, oh, well, we can't do that. And they raised all these objections. And I was like, actually, I already signed the paperwork and everything, and like, I can pick it up tomorrow. And that made them very upset. Even though in the past they would go pick up like new trucks, new things. They would have their daughter, who was like an adult and didn't live in the same state, they would have their daughter help them pick out the vehicle and not include me in it at all. They would just be like, oh, I'm home, got a new vehicle. They'd be gone for like the whole day. And then they'd be like, oh yeah, well, they helped me pick it out. Oh, okay, thanks. So anyways, I did this to them and they hated it. So again, if you are in a relationship where someone treats you, if you are in a relationship where if you decided to treat that person the way they've been treating you and it would end it, then you kind of know that you're not in an equal relationship. So near the end of the relationship, moral of the story is, I went in to go get insurance on the vehicle because they made a point of, well, we have to go get different insurance. And I was like, yeah, but they'll know about it and it's fine. And they probably already have it done, but sure. Because the dealership generally takes care of that, especially if you're in a lease. They're not going to like let you leave the parking lot with a new vehicle without insurance on it. So anyways, especially in the state that we're in, they won't allow you to drive without insurance. It's just not a thing. So anyways, we went to the insurance office, and I remember him very adamant that he did not want to go in with me. Like, he didn't want me to go in the office with him. And I was like, well, what's the big deal? So I was like, no, it's fine. I'll go in. So I went in and he seemed very, very, very upset, but I couldn't figure out why. So we went in, we got the insurance. The agent that was there seemed very knowledgeable, seemed awkward at the time, but I couldn't figure out why, and I wasn't super thinking about it. They gave us the insurance card. He seemed, again, super mad. When we got home, they blew up at me. They were complaining about the vehicle that I chose. They were complaining about the color. They were complaining about the trim. They were complaining that they couldn't believe that I picked out something without them. And again, they had already done this to me multiple times. and it was fine. But if I did it, it was a problem. They threw a fit. I got a sign, like a sign that the dealer hangs on the rear view that was like, congratulations, with your name on it, like reserved for you. And they hang it from the rear view. And I was like, oh, this is such a big deal, because it had been like a few years since I had had a brand new vehicle. And I was like geeked about it. It was cool. Well, they ended up, my ex-husband ended up throwing that in the trash like the second we walked in the door. I ended up like getting it back out of the trash later. Like, no, that was my sign. I was super proud of that. I still have that sign, by the way. But anyways, they just ended up being super upset about it, and I couldn't figure out why. Well, obviously, I had wrecked their thing because their supply was the insurance agent. And now that I think about it, the reason that it was so awkward was I'm pretty sure they were banging that insurance agent before I even went into that insurance office. So there's that. Anyways, live and learn, right? So this is why I'm sharing all these things, because I don't want people to go through the stuff that I've gone through. So anyways, the narcissist needs a supply. Chances are you are an anxious attachment style. You are a people pleaser. There are lots of things that they love about you, especially the fact that you're probably working, you're probably smart, you have a lot of qualities that people love. You're probably pretty decently popular among people. You would probably make them look good if you're going out with them. And so what they'll do is they'll slowly chip that away from you. So they will, as the relationship again progresses, they'll want you to move in right away. They will love bomb you right away. But then after that, everything kind of fizzles out. So then you'll notice like they're doing all kinds of nice people things for other people, but they're not really spending as much time with you. Or I remember a huge thing was like my birthday. I was like, oh, my birthday is going to be this weekend. And I remember them throwing that back in my face and going, well, you just think everything's about you. And it was like, oh, I guess we don't celebrate birthdays that way. And then I thought, oh, I must be crazy. Like, my birthday must not be a big deal. Okay, I guess we won't be worried about that. So then you just learn to drop things. A lot of other things would be like, oh, yeah, my friend and I are having coffee on Saturday, because that's what we do. We usually do this like once a month. We meet up for coffee. And they will never tell you no to that. But what they'll do is they will weaponize it against you. So in my case, it was, oh, I guess you don't love me enough. I guess you, oh, so you don't want to spend time with me? Well, I had plans that we were going to go do A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. But I guess since you don't want to hang out with me anymore, I guess you just go be with your friend then. And it would be like, okay, but I just wanted to hang out with my friend because that's what we normally do. So those dates with my friend turned into like far and few between. And my friend was actually a very good, like counselor. And so that's another reason, like, they didn't want me hanging out with someone like that, because if I would have told my friend what was going on, they would have spotted this right away and I wouldn't be in a relationship with him. I know that for sure. Another thing that they would do early on in the relationship, after I'd moved in though, is I was planning on like our future. Like they would say, oh, I'm planning on building a lifetime with you together, us forever, blah, blah, blah. This is what I want. I want us to grow old together. And it would be like, okay. And so eventually, after like 6 months, a year would go by and we were living together, I'm thinking like, eventually this guy's going to propose to me, right? And if I would ever bring it up, he'd be like, well, I just got out of a serious relationship. I'm not really looking for anything serious right now. Hello, we've been living together for 8 months. So what the fuck is that? Anyway, these are the things that you will deal with a narcissist, and you will make it you'll feel like you're crazy. I'm not even kidding. And this is why I shared what I shared. So that is just kind of the start of it. Towards the end of the relationship, you're going to make it feel like you're crazy. You're going to stop liking the things you used to like. You're going to probably slowly start to get depressed. You're not going to want to go out of the house anymore. You're going to find yourself wearing the same old comfort clothes. That's a thing, believe it or not. They're basically going to take you, weaponize everything about you, turn it into you being crazy. And then by the end of the relationship, if it's a long-term thing and you've lasted that long, you're going to be a shell of you that you don't remember. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be older. They're going to have wasted your time, your joy, and all the things. And when you get done, you're going to be like, who even am I right now? And what the heck is going on? And in my specific case, they wanted me to look like a crazy ex. So in the beginning, and again, this is like if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, listen or think back to what they told you in the beginning about all of their exes. A huge red flag with a narcissist is in the beginning, they will tell you that all of their exes were like A, B, C, or D. They will categorize them all into one thing, and they're going to just say that their exes are all this. So in my beginning, he'd go, my exes were all crazy and they were addicted to prescriptions. And I was like, well, that's weird. And so their prior ex really was, to me, in my mind, crazy, because his phone would go off sometimes, and it would go off 10 times, and I would be like, oh my God, it's his ex again. What is her problem? And now I kind of understand. She never got closure from him. She didn't learn that he was a narcissist, I don't think. Even to this day, I doubt. But she would send him like these long drawn out messages for attention. And like, you could tell that she was still in the anxious attachment style thing. So she did seem crazy. So, and again, if they have multiple exes, it's possible that one of them is crazy. But he was saying that they were addicted to pills. By the time I had gotten done with all of this relationship, I wasn't on anything brain-wise for meds. I was about to be going on antidepressants. And then I was on medicine for weight loss. I was on medicine for like water retention. And at one point in time, I had to get put on Lasix, which is like a huge like water retention pill. I had been through so much trauma, and I'm not even kidding you, and weight gain, because I was binge eating because of this, that I had put on all this water weight that my ankles were so puffy that I couldn't get my shoes on, and I'm not even joking. And I also had a desk job at home because they really wanted me to be at home. And I ended up having to be on like water pills, basically. Hydrochlorothiazide is basically what it is, but it's to get water off your heart, is what some people use it for. But by the time we were done, it was like I was on multiple meds. And when we had started the relationship, it was like I was on like a vitamin and an occasional weight loss pill to help, like, just to help me lose weight overall. But I was going to the gym when we started. And by the time we were done, it was like, I wasn't doing that anymore. Because, he doesn't want me people being looked at. He doesn't want me out in public. He doesn't want me around people. He just wants me at home like his little wifey, so that he can use things against me, project onto me, and then blame everything on me. So that's what they like. So I said all this to say I've gotten out. I left in July. It's now January of the following year. Our divorce will be final in the next couple of months. So eventually you're going to see me on camera. Because if I'll do lives, and if my words don't say it, my face definitely will. But again, I'm just not sharing pictures and things like that right now due to going through the divorce, because I know that if they saw me on a channel, on TikTok, on YouTube, they would lose their mind and they would come after me for anything they possibly could, even though like I made sure in my recordings to take all of the things out so that it can't be like identified as first and last name, so they can't come after me. So there's that for the morning, but narcissists need a new supply. And they thrive on supply. So that's how I was at fault. I put him on a pedestal. I was anxiously attached. I didn't know any better. I wasn't educated about narcissism, and I didn't know this existed. And in the beginning, it just made me feel like I was crazy. So I fell prey into their little traps of thinking that I was crazy. And had I not done my recordings, and had I not gone to counseling, I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't be here right now. So I just really, really needed to get all of this out. I really, really needed to get this off my chest. There are people that are being like, hey, you're crazy for sharing all of this because of the recordings, but I don't care, because I need people to know what gaslighting sounds like. There are people that are like, oh my God, you're so brave for sharing all of this. I hope you're going to be okay. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm a couple hours away. When we separated, he had gone to visit a family member and they live within probably 15 minutes of me. So basically on his way back to his home, he could have like literally gotten off at an exit and spent like 2 minutes of his time to come see me. Couldn't do that. And that was while we were separated, and supposedly he loved me and he wanted to work things out. So I think I'm fine. But again, if this hits home with you, if you're like, oh my God, this has happened to me, or this is happening right now to me, but I didn't know what it was and I thought I was crazy. This thing exists. It's real. And there are people out there that like prey on people and will weaponize it against you. And like, I feel bad for his new person because I'm like, I see the things that they're doing. Okay. And I'm not seeing the things on purpose. I'm not stalking him. He left his photo sharing on. Hello. He left his photo sharing on. That's how I found out he was cheating on me after he told me he wanted a divorce, because there were pictures of like a dog that wasn't mine, that was miraculously the insurance agent's dog that I saw in the office when I went to go get new vehicle insurance, in my bathtub with Pure Romance products that were obviously not mine. After he had screamed at me and said, how dare you accuse me of being the bad guy here? I'm not the bad guy. But like within 5 minutes after hanging up, after I had asked him if he was dating someone, after he asked me for a divorce, I get that picture as confirmation. Like, he's washing someone else's dog in our bathtub, and obviously they're staying there at least. Maybe they're not living there, but they're at least very much staying there because their shower products are there. Hello. So anyways, I told him about it a couple of times. He's not smart enough to turn it off. So I'm going to let it go at least until the divorce. And then I'm going to make sure that I delete the app. But at some point in time, I'm fairly confident he's going to try something shady. And so if he takes a picture of it, which he would, at least I'll know ahead of time so I can get behind it. This is the same man that went out and bought a second truck while we were separated, put it in our divorce, and he took everything. He took everything. I got out with like clothes, a couple of pieces of furniture, my vehicle, and that's what I got out with. He got mad at me for taking recipes of my own out of the cupboard, okay? That was a problem for him. And anyways, he bought a second vehicle. He put it in the divorce papers. I was like, oh, you got a second vehicle? And he was like, yeah, I had to do something. And I'm like, okay. And he was really like high up on the horse about that one. And I'm like, whatever. I don't care. Greed's greed. Money is money. Power is power. Take all that stuff. Shove it. It's fine. I don't care. I've restarted. I work overtime. It's fine. I'll handle my own. Cool. But then I thought about it and I'm like, boy, he better not have bought this vehicle like with a new supply or something. Like, I don't want to be liable while we're going through this divorce. So I called the dealership and I'm like, hey, this is so-and-so's wife. Can you send me the paperwork over for the lease? And they're like, oh yeah, I remember the sale. And as soon as the guy said that, I'm like, oh, I'm not getting this paperwork. Like, I just knew. And I'm like, oh yeah. So I'm sure that he went into said dealership, said like his crazy wife left and he needs a new vehicle, and he was probably with the new supply, like, and he probably said like, oh, we're separated or something. So of course the paperwork didn't come. So I get on the phone and I'm like, hey, we can do this the hard way or the easy way. I can either have you send me a copy of this lease agreement or purchase agreement so that I know that you didn't like buy a vehicle with a new person, or I can get a subpoena, your choice. Tell me what it's going to be. And by the end of this relationship, by like the time we had filed, I've become such a dick to him. Like, I've been a fucking hard ass about everything, and I've been mean, and I don't even care. Especially after they treated me. But they ended up being like, I was deceitful. And I was like, what do you mean I'm deceitful? And they're like, oh, I know that you've already contacted the dealership. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Yeah, so the dealership ended up calling him and being like, hey, your crazy ex-wife, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, well, I think I at least need to know that I'm covering my own butt and you didn't like buy a vehicle with someone new and random since you went and bought it while we were married but didn't tell me until the divorce. But I'm the deceitful one, of course. So they really love to project those things onto you. And if you listen to the recordings, that was another question I had. Slate, why are you putting up recordings online about your fights? Well, I'll tell you why. I want people to know what gaslighting sounds like. I want people to know what narcissism sounds like. I want people to know what it sounds like to argue in circles. And what I mean by that is if you go back and listen to them, and some of them are really hard to listen to, and it's awful. It was like the most awful time of my life. But again, I'm willing to share these things because I don't want people to go through this. When we started our relationship, when we would go to big events, he would get me behind closed doors and do this all of the time. It was like, oh, we're going to this event and I'm helping out. I'm volunteering at this thing. So after the first couple, I already knew like, oh, this is going to suck. Like, I'm going to go volunteer here. He's going to get me behind closed doors. He's going to start screaming, yelling at me, all the things. Ew. It makes you not even want to go. Ugh, gross. You just get that feeling. Okay. But anyways, they would start out like that. The arguments were kind of far and few between. It was basically like if I told him no to something, or if I didn't want to do something, if I didn't show absolute delight or absolute like, oh my God, you're my hero type of behavior like you do in the beginning, that's when the fights would start. That's when he would start yelling at me for no real good reason, and I never understood what I was doing wrong. Did I record prior to this? No. Do normal people go around recording conversations? No. Do normal people go around recording fights? No. In January of last year, about a year ago, today actually, there was one day where I was working and they were going to their brother's house. And I was like, do you think you could maybe be home by like, I don't know, 7 or 8 o'clock tonight? And they were like, well, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. Why? And they were all upset. And I'm like, I just would really like for us to spend time together. Like, I feel like we haven't spent time together because he spent the weekend like going snowmobiling with his brother. I didn't go. And I wanted to spend time with him. Time is like my thing. Like, I don't care about gifts and money and all the crap. I just wanted to spend time with him, meaningful time. So he scoffed at me and was like, he didn't know what time he was going to be home and he was leaving and goodbye. And I was like, oh, okay. And he would get that thing where he would be like, well, what is your problem now? Is what he would do. And I'd be like, nothing. I just wanted to spend some time with you. And he'd go, like on that specific day, normally it would be like, well, you're just crazy. You're just this. You're just that. Whatever. But on this specific day in January, he was like, do you just want a divorce? And I was like, why would you even ask me that? And so I started, of course, crying. And another key factor, if you're in the wrong relationship, is like if you are mid-fight and they leave you crying, or if you are hurt badly and they like tell you that they have other plans than to take you to the emergency room, those are huge things. Don't let someone in a relationship with you treat you like that. That's BS. It's total BS. And again, these are things I've gone through, and I don't want other people to go through them. So just take heed from my mistakes and just be able to spot this right away. So I'm going to go over the recording thing in the next one. But again, the recordings were really huge in the sense that after I had kind of recognized a pattern, I started to save these because I wasn't sure if I was going to be here on this earth anymore, and I needed someone to hear what was going on. He basically boiled me down and made me feel like I was nuts, and you can hear it in our fights. So there was one fight where I was like, hey, I've been binge eating for a while, and then he tells me at the table like, oh, I'm so glad you're opening up to me. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, and he's like, well, what's been bothering you? And I'm like, well, I'm getting kind of all these texts in the evening about like an organization that we're in. And as soon as I say that, it turns into like, I'm going to have a midlife crisis. He wants me to get off of this organization. And all these things, but he is screaming at me. Okay. So that is also not normal. So in that specific one, and again, like at the end, I was feeling this, like I could feel something coming, but I just wanted to know like that I wasn't crazy. Okay. So I tell him what's been bothering me. I anticipate that it's going to start out like a normal conversation and things are going to get better between us. Like, oh my gosh, finally he'll go back to being the person that I met, right? No, it turns into weaponry. It turns into, I'm crazy. I'm going to have a midlife crisis. There are things wrong with me and that I should immediately get off of the board that I was on, that he was not on. And he would just be going back to the way it was before we were together. So there's the key indicator. He, at that point in time, had found a supply. Maybe they weren't sleeping together. Maybe they were. I'm pretty sure they were. But he had found his supply and he wanted me gone. So if I get off of that board, what does he get to do? Then he'll go and tell everyone the same story he's been telling everyone all of his life. Well, my ex was crazy and she's not here anymore. So now blah, blah, blah. And then he goes on with his life story and it's fine. Plot twist. I am on that board. I'm still on that board. I'm not leaving that board and I'm a successful person on that board. So I'm staying on that board. But I did go get counseling. And after the counseling session, my counselor called us because I went to counseling with him. And she was like, no, this is narcissistic abuse. And I want to start taking you on one-on-one because you should not be in this relationship like this. So she spotted it. And then I ended up playing a couple of the things and she's like, oh, no. This is narcissistic abuse. And I'm like, okay. So that's another thing that I learned. But that's how I learned, and that's why I'm sharing these things with you. And again, there's not last names in here. There's not identifying information to tell you who he is or who I am, which is why I'm not releasing my name and things due to us being in divorce proceedings right now. And again, he's already taken everything from me, so there's really, at this point, nothing he can take. But if for some reason I were to start a business or something or be successful before a divorce is finalized, he would come after that too. He would have no problem taking anything else from me that he possibly could because of that. So those are just a few of things. But again, in that recording, he basically circles back and makes me try to feel like I'm crazy. By the end of everything, most of the fights that we had, he will just start screaming at me. And he's telling me that I need therapy. I need to go to counseling. One of the ones that's in there is like, I need to go to counseling because I have family problems. But like the night before that happened, what's not in there is that like my half brother called me kind of drunk and was like, hey, our grandpa was adopted. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, something else to know. And I guess I'll take a DNA test, something, because I want to see my roots or whatever. But in my normal mind, as a human being, it's just something I didn't know. Well, as soon as I got off of the phone with my said half brother, which again, I don't know him super well, but it's fine. He starts calling my family inbred and joking around. And I'm like, I look at him and I'm like, could you not? And as soon as I say those 3 words to him, that boundary, he gets up and he's like, I'm not fucking talking to you again, blah, blah, blah. I don't have to put up with this. Screams, stomps off, leaves the table. And I'm like, what in the hell? Like, I didn't know what happened, but I was like, please don't call my family inbred. I didn't know that that was a thing that would throw him off the edge, but it did. And I had people there when it happened. So anyways, that happened. And so that night I ended up going to sleep on the floor in another room because it was like, I'm not dealing with that. And then it was during an ice storm in Michigan. So now you know exactly what state I'm in or what state I was in. But anyways, it was a bad one. It made the news, all the things. And they had mentioned something the day before about going to help out my family. And I asked, like, are you going to go there today? And I get, I don't know. And it was like, okay. So again, they like to have control over everything. They like to keep you in the dark about everything. They want you to know nothing. By the time we had gotten to our final fight, I didn't feel safe anymore. You can listen to the recording, but basically I was like, my heart doesn't feel safe. And, you know, you made it seem like you were more concerned about me not being there to take care of A, B, C, D, E, F, and G than you were my safety when my vehicle wasn't working properly. And he turned that back on me, saying that I kept secrets from him because I didn't tell him that the car was fixed for one day when I was leaving. And then he's like, but I can't have secrets from you. So obviously, for a very long time, he had secrets from me because that's what narcissists do. So when I published these recordings, I'm like, oh my God, like he wanted to leave me for a very long time. He wanted to do this, that, and the other. And it was like, I'm thinking about it now in retrospect. If I would have stayed, I don't know how bad it would have gotten, but I'm sure it would have gotten much, much worse. And so I'm super glad that I left. So if you are in a relationship like this where you're questioning, like, am I crazy right now? Like, what in the heck is going on? And everything seems like it's upside down. Chances are you're probably not. I mean, maybe you are. It's possible. I don't know. But if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, they will make you think you're crazy. They will make you question everything. And chances are you started this relationship out. You are a perfectly sane person. You're someone that works hard. You're someone that has goals. You're someone that has a life. And they suck all of that out of you and turn you into this shell that you don't even know who you are anymore. So there's hope you can get out. I'm still working super hard, but like I have my own place. Everything is good. I sleep so good at night now. I didn't for a very long time. There's just a lot of things. And every day, like, I'm just like, God, I'm so blessed for this life. I'm so blessed for this life. Like, everything is peaceful. Everything is quiet. Everything is joyous. I don't have to second guess myself. I don't have to over explain myself to anyone. I don't have to have like all this cortisol. Like, I'm detoxing so much from cortisol. I don't retain water anymore. I'm not on a bunch of meds. I'm going to the gym. I'm making my life better and I'm building myself back way better. Like, super healthy, super happy. Like, and I'm super excited for my next chapter of my life. And I can't wait to see what that relationship will be, especially if it's a healthy one. I've not ever had a healthy relationship in my life, and I'm like beyond my 40s right now. So super excited for that. But like, after all the love, time, effort, energy I've poured into the wrong relationships, like, I cannot wait to see what my next one looks like, where someone actually gives back to me and it's somewhat reciprocal, especially now that I've learned how to detach myself from the wrong people, the wrong things, and pull my energy back into me. Like, it's a huge, huge difference. So I'm going to share with you guys everything that I've gone through, which I've kind of shared everything there. But I'm also going to share with you like how I've gotten my life to come back to where it's normal after this, because it took a lot of like healing, a lot of crying, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of trips up and down the stairs because I'm like in a second story apartment. Just a lot. And it's still a lot of work. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and be like everything's unicorns and rainbows, because it's obviously not. There's still bills and all the things, but it definitely gets better. And so if you're being abused in any way, shape, or form in your relationship, and it doesn't matter if you're a guy or girl, no one deserves that. You deserve, we're all children of God. We all deserve to be treated with love and respect, and you don't deserve to beg for breadcrumbs. And you sure as hell do not need to have anything weaponized against you when you are trying to pour genuine love into something. Like, that never needs to happen. So if you need help, you have questions, whatever it is, you can email me. I'm never going to DM you first. I'm never going to reach out to you first. But if you message me and you need help, I will do everything in my power to help you. So that's what I've got for this morning. I know it went a little bit long. I try to keep my stuff shorter. I'm going to post up more meditations, mantras, the things. I'm doing counseling with people right now. I'm trying to figure out a way to monetize some of the things, not in a creepy like subscribe now or whatever, or make it really expensive, but I'm trying to do this so that I can do this for a living to help people instead of doing my desk job, because this is what I like thrive on, is like making sure that people are happier in their lives, because I don't want anyone going through what I did. So anyway, have an amazing day. Love and light. Remember to drink your water, bring in your pets, check on your people, all the things. But have an amazing day. Love and light.